What's up, guys? Welcome to the channel. Behind me is my 2013 Jeep JK, and as you can see, it is a little torn apart. In this video, we are going to be talking about the Chrysler TIPM. It is the totally integrated power module. That's what you have right here. This TIPM is still plugged in, but this is what they look like. And I'll throw an image up on the screen here of what they look like when they're opened up. There's a couple of circuit boards inside there, and then all those relays and fuses and stuff. I don't know if that was a good idea. It seems like you might have been putting two components that have some fairly significant issues when they go bad, putting them together, which was maybe not a great idea. This TIPM problem affects, from what I can tell, 2007 to 2018. So pretty much every JK. And then it appears that they've solved the problem in the JLs. I'm not positive. The purpose of this video is to outline all the different things that you can test and check before you take it into the dealership or order up a TIPM, and I'll show you both of those options. But there are a lot of things that can fix the TIPM without replacing it, sometimes temporary, sometimes permanently. But we're going to go through everything so that you guys can check all of those out. And like the title says, we're going to try to make this the definitive guide. Probably it will be, but no guarantees. We're doing the best we can. I'm Joel, this is Motors and Mischief, and this is our guide for Jeep JK TIPM issues. Okay, it parked just fine the other night. Drove perfect, no problems at all. Drove it into the garage, turned it off, left it. A couple days later, came back, went to fire it up, and this is what we get. Notice, gauges are dead. Every light we've got is on. Windshield wipers are on. And let me show you outside. Headlights are on. All right, let me shut this down and tell you what's going on. All right, the wipers and the lights coming on like that are a safety feature. It seems like the Jeep is possessed, but that's not actually what's going on. The main computer has lost connection with something, and because of that, it doesn't know what's going on. So for safety reasons, it turns on the lights and it turns on the wipers. As you can see, Jeep runs just fine. Okay, the very first thing that you want to try if you've got any of these symptoms is the TIPM hard reset. Okay, now to do that, you're going to take the positive battery cable and the negative battery cable. You're going to put them together, zip tie them or clamp them or whatever you want to do, and leave them like that for 20 minutes. Then come back, try starting the Jeep. A lot of the times that will fix it. It's only temporary, but the hard reset will, maybe if it's on a trail or side of the road, will get you back on the road and moving. Honestly, don't know if you need to wait that long, and honestly don't know if you need to leave them clipped together that long. But what you're doing by doing that is you're discharging any residual electrical to make sure that the computer is completely cut off from any kind of power source and able to reset. Okay, if that reset procedure doesn't do it for you, then the next most common cause of this TIPM issue is bad connections at your battery. So you want to go ahead and loosen up your cables, pull both of those loose and clean everything up. Make sure that all your connections here are all good. The way these battery cables clamp down, there's actually a ton of room for corrosion to grow around and inside stuff. So it's really important that they're clean. So cleaning those up can solve the TIPM problem. So try cleaning those and see if that doesn't do it. The number one thing that I'm hearing from guys, especially with the older ones, 2007 and 8, is this, these grounds right down here. Those grounds right there. So mine are nice and tight and don't have any corrosion in them, so they're not the issue for me, unfortunately. Also, you've got some grounds right over here that can also cause the problem. One right there, one right here, and one down right there. So those all need to be tight, clean, and corrosion free. It can also be a few things. I've seen on the forums that if the airbag clock spring goes bad, that can trigger these same symptoms. There's also apparently a lot of the vehicles have an issue with the the front sway bar disconnect that also causes this issue. Okay, the airbag clock spring is not a super common one. It can cause these problems, but it's not one of the top causes. So if you do need to replace that clock spring, if you determine that that is indeed what's wrong with yours, and I would assume that you'd also have problems like possibly the horn not working, possibly, well, you wouldn't be able to see the airbag lights, but if you'd had airbag light issues before, that might be an indicator. I will link a video in the description. We did an airbag clock spring replace on our WJ, and it's the exact same procedure on this. So we'll go ahead and link that if you need it. Okay, if you do have the front sway bar disconnect, you definitely want to check that, because lots of folks online who are saying that that was where their problem was and they were able to fix the issue by fixing that. I don't have a sway bar disconnect on mine, so I don't know what they're finding down there. I don't know if it's a loose connection or corroded connection. That's what I would guess, because that's what all the rest of these problems are, but you will need to check that, see if you've got a bad connection, see if you've got something else, but that's definitely someplace to check. So if you've got that sway bar connection, you definitely want to check there. But again, I don't have one, so I can't show you exactly what the issue is on those. Okay, next one. Okay, so another common problem that can cause this, low battery voltage. And in looking at our battery, I see it's 519, which I was thinking, oh, that's just a couple years old, but I guess it's actually 422 right now. So that battery is almost 4 years old, and 19, 20, 21, 22, yeah, 4 years old. And that can definitely, that can be the life of them. So I pulled the battery from my daughter's Grand Cherokee there, and she has a brand new one, and things are on the wrong side, so we had to move the harness over to get it to work, but it made absolutely no difference, and that's a brand new battery. So next, what we're gonna do is check the continuity on either side of these. These have got a fusible link in it. A fusible link is basically, it's like a fuse, and when the fusible link burns out, the wire disconnects, and it's designed to protect the Jeep from fire. So as you can see, there's fusible links right here with everything coming off the battery. If something accidentally grounds out and isn't working properly with the fuses, that fusible link will fail, and it will protect the Jeep. Problem is there's no indicator that the fusible link has burned out. So what you need to do is test continuity from one side of your wire to the other. Now in this case, we've got a double wire right here. One of these goes over to this right here. So what we're gonna do is disconnect this, and then we'll run that continuity check. The reason why I wanna disconnect it is because if it's still connected to the Jeep, it is possible that the system, instead of going through the fusible link, will actually run around all the other stuff that's connected to it and make continuity that way. So we don't want it to find a back way around on the continuity. We want it to check that actual wire. So we'll check it end to end. So we'll go ahead and pull that and test that with the negative battery cable disconnected. Okay, in order to check the continuity, we're going to use a test meter here. This is mine. And right now it's saying, I've got this set on ohms, as you can see, and right now it's out of limits, because what that means is that there's no connection right there. Now if we go ahead and we touch that, you'll see that goes to 0. So no resistance at all when I touch the meters together. So I've got one end clipped onto this. I should now be able to check the other end of this cable by testing right here, and it goes to 0. So that cable is good. That means that that fusible link going from right here over to right there is good. That was the shortest and easiest one to test. So now we need to start getting into the other ones. I don't know where the other end of these things are, so we'll do a bit of little research, figure out where those are so that we can test the continuity on them. Okay, so one of those 3 wires goes directly over to the alternator, and we can test its continuity. And it's good. All right, and that last fusible link provides all the power for the interior of the Jeep. So that one, you know, is good if you've got dash lights and all that kind of stuff is working. You'll lose all of that if you lose the fusible link on that. So that's not a real common one. It's also, I believe, the largest one in there. So that is the last one to check. But again, if you've got the power, then you don't need to check it because clearly it's working. Okay, on to the next steps. Okay, now comes the fun part, or the tedious part, depending on how you look at it. Time to check fuses, because there are certain fuses that can cause a problem. So the easiest thing to do is to just actually yank them all out one at a time, check them with a meter, and put them all back in. Now, you can look at them visually. 9 times out of 10, you will be able to tell visually if there's something wrong with the fuse. A good fuse looks like this, and a blown fuse looks like this. However, very occasionally, the fuse will blow and won't look like it's blown. So if you really want to be sure and not be accidentally chasing your tail, use your meter and run a continuity check across those, just like we showed you on the wires. Do a check across the fuse. Pull it out, run it across the meter, stick it back in. Be very, very careful that you put those back in the exact same spot that you pulled them out. It is super easy to put them in the wrong spot. Notice that there's a few places along here where fuses are missing. So you think you're going to put it right back in the exact same spot, but you end up putting it in the spot that the fuse wasn't. What I recommend is take a picture of it before you get started on your phone, and then that way, if you get unsure, you can double check as you're going through, and you can check it when you get completely done to make sure that they all look. Also, some people are getting a no bus error on the dash, which indicates that the computer knows there's a CAN bus problem. This is not giving that error. I'm getting a door ajar error, no matter if the door is open or closed, no matter when I turn the key with the door open or closed, or which door is open or closed. And I'm also getting the TIPM tire pressure monitor error. Those are the only two. It cycles back and forth between those. So, okay, so with all that testing done, the last thing that can cause this problem, besides the TIPM or the CAN bus, is the cluster. So one of the things that can happen is you can get corrosion built up on the cluster pins, and that can cause the problem. You can also have an issue with power or ground going to those pins for the cluster. So that's the next thing to check. We're going to go ahead and pull the cluster. I'll show you how to do that. Okay, so to get the instrument cluster out, you pull this panel right here, which just pops off like that. And then you can see the bolts holding the cluster, and there's one right there and one right there. Okay, in addition to those two screws there on the cluster, there's those are both 7mm, by the way. There is a 7mm behind here, I'll show you, and there's another one behind this window switch. So we will pop this window switch out. You just stick a appropriate tool inside here, pop that out, and then I'll show you where both of those are, and then this entire thing will just come right off. Okay, so on ours we do have this mount. Right here. So the 7mm screw you can see is right there. If you don't have the mount, you'll see that 7mm screw. Okay, so you can see there we got clips right there on the top. There are clips just like that on the bottom, and then once you've got that out, there's that little red switch, or really, retainer holding that in. That slides out, and then you push the little button to unhook that. There's that hidden screw right there. Okay, and once you got those screws out, you just pop the thing out. Just like that. Okay, and now you can see the 4 screws that hold in the instrument cluster. We got one there, one down there, and one right there. So we'll pull those, and that will be that'll be the instrument cluster out, and we can test that. All right, and once those are out, then the instrument cluster just comes out, and you can see carefully those are the connectors on the back. So we will just pull those to disconnect this, and we'll check the condition. All right, guys, with that instrument cluster out, the last thing we want to do is test to make sure that we've got power and ground to the instrument cluster. So there are not a ton of wiring diagrams available for these things. Jeep stopped making them available at the JK. So you've got to either know somebody at the dealership or sweet talk the parts guys into printing those out for you. I haven't found a source online, although I'm sure there is one. So if somebody knows, comment below. That would be great for anybody looking for that. But in the meantime, I was able to figure out which pins we're looking for, and I'll show you here. So the power to this instrument cluster appears to be this red wire, which would make sense, and the ground appears to be this black wire, which would also make sense. So we've got the meter. We've got the meter set on ohms, just like we were doing before. I have that one, the negative lead alligator clips to the ground down there by the footwell. And we're just going to test that black pin here, which is difficult to do one-handed. There you can see that went to 0 resistance, so that ground circuit is complete. That means the system is definitely getting ground. So now what we want to do is check and see if it's got power. So what we're going to do is we're going to switch to direct current AC volts, and then we're going to take this and we need to turn on the Jeep, turn it to on, not start. We're going to put that right there, and then you see right there we've got battery voltage. So that tells us the cluster is absolutely getting power. So yeah, so we are down now to it being either the TIPM, the CAN bus, or the instrument cluster here. So we've decided we're going to go ahead and take it to our local Jeep dealership, let them run their CAN bus, or let them run their scanner on it so they can look at the CAN bus and see what the diagnostic CAN bus is telling them and see which of those it is. Because if I just test if I send the TIPM out to be tested, it won't tell me if it's fine. It won't tell me if it's the CAN bus or the instrument cluster. But if I take it to the dealership for a little bit more money, they'll tell me what the problem is. All right, we are back from the Jeep dealership. We ended up having to go to a Jeep dealership that is not the one we normally go to, because our normal Jeep dealership was backed up 3 weeks before they could even look at it. They diagnosed it as the instrument cluster. They said that the CAN bus is fine, computer's communicating, everything's doing great, and the TIPM's fine. It is communicating with the scanner, and everything's good there. I'm comfortable with their diagnosis, but they wanted $1,600 to replace the instrument cluster. And since everything's back order, they're going to send our instrument cluster out to be rebuilt. We are not going to do that. I found a used cluster, I actually found a brand new cluster on eBay, and we'll be ordering that up. We'll install that, and then we will take it to a local speedometer shop who will recode the mileage so that the Jeep is accurate. So we do need to go ahead and pull the instrument cluster out so that we can get the codes off the back of it to order up the new one. So, okay guys, it is actually a couple weeks later. So we actually just found a replacement on eBay. This one's actually brand new. It's from Mopar, and all the right serial numbers and everything. So it's ready to go. We're going to go ahead and plug it in and see what happens. There, that's plugged in, ready to be installed. We're going to I want to test it before we put everything back together, but it doesn't want to sit here, so we're going to put a couple screws in just to hold it so we can test it. All right, there we go. Key off. Gonna go hook the battery back up. Okay, ouch. All right, well, this is already a good sign. You guys saw before I did, the speedometer went back to 0, and it's showing both doors open, whereas before it would only show the driver's door open no matter what we did. So that is a good sign. We currently have the fuse pulled for the wipers, but all the gauges should be working properly if this thing's fixed. So let's try it. All right, looks like two of our TPM sensors are not registering, so we'll look into that. But all the other lights are off and the gauges are working. The rear wiper is turned on, and that wasn't working before, so that's good. Cool. All right. So I don't know if, I know the TIPM, when you get a replacement TIPM, it needs to be coded to the Jeep. You code it by turning on the ignition switch for 12 seconds, turn it back off. You can recode it as many times as you need to if you screw it up. I don't know if the instrument cluster needs to be coded or not, and I forgot about that. So we're going to go ahead and run that coding procedure just in case, although everything seems to be working just fine. When we first turned it on, I don't know if you saw, but the sway bar came on. Sway bar disconnect, we don't have that. Automatic transmission lights came on, we don't have that. But it seems to have sorted itself out. So let's see if doing the reset does anything. Yep, still angry about the TPM sensors, but we'll sort that out. Other than that, seems to be just fine. I don't know if that reset procedure was necessary or not, but it certainly doesn't hurt anything. And obviously, if anybody knows, comment down below. But yeah, looks like we're doing great. So instrument cluster is what ended up fixing this one. So that's nice. Okay, so this entire video is about TIPM problems, but this didn't turn out to be TIPM, obviously. This turned out to be instrument cluster. So again, the problems that are presented are usually referred to as TIPM issues. Lots of times it is the TIPM, but as we saw, it can also be the CAN bus, it can also be the instrument cluster like it was in mine. So if it is the TIPM for you, even though that's not what was wrong with mine, if it is the TIPM for you, then I figured I better show you guys how to get that out of there. It's really, really easy, and if you just start poking at your Jeep, you will see it comes right apart. So you actually just put a screwdriver in right here, or you can even use your fingernail. See how I'm pulling that out of there, right there, and that one's actually holding back now. So there's 4 of them, one right here, one right here, one right here, and one right there. And you just push all those in, push all those little clamps in, and disconnect this, and then this whole thing will come up. There's like 6 or 8 connectors underneath. They all have these, or all but 2 of them have these. You can kind of see it right down there. It's those lever actuated connectors. So you just swing that lever and it will disconnect. Be careful, mine broke when I went to swing it, so instead of swinging, it just broke the arm on the connector. So then I had to put it back on and very carefully adjust them. But before sending this thing off, it's a good idea to go ahead and pull it out, disconnect everything, check your connections, and then make sure that they're not corroded, then put everything back together. Lots of times, just that act of disconnecting and reconnecting will clear off the corrosion and reconnect that thing for you so that it'll work. And again, it's really, really easy. I was surprised at how easy it was. Also, at least with mine, since it wasn't the issue, I took it out about 3 times while we were testing here for this video, and it never had any problems. It didn't hurt anything other than that one broken clip I was telling you about. So it's actually fairly easy to get in and out, and the Jeep doesn't fight you on it. So if you've done everything else and you've got the power there, then you're down to the same problem that I had, is whether it's TIPM, CAN bus, or instrument cluster, and then you're going to have to make the decision on whether you want to have it tested by somebody with a scanner that can read the CAN bus like I did, or if you want to go ahead and go pull the TIPM and send that off to the repair company. And again, they will test it and send it back to you if that's not the problem. You'll be out $85 for the testing plus shipping, but they won't keep your $250. So I will put links in the description for the TIPM repair, so that if that is something that you need, you can send it off. And then again, they're also, at least at the time of this filming, there's plenty of them on eBay. So, all right, that's it, guys. She is all fixed. So it turned out to be that instrument cluster. That's weird. I don't know why the instrument cluster just took a complete dump on us, but replacement one solved the problem. So for those of you who see the 0 mileage on that, it is a brand new instrument cluster, and we do have an appointment at a local speedometer shop. They have the tools to recode that. The Jeep has not moved since the old instrument cluster was taken out, and we're going to take the old one down, which if you power it up, it will show you the mileage, and we're going to bring them the new one, which will have whatever miles it takes to drive down there, and then they will code it for the old mileage plus what's ever on this one, and we'll be all back up to snuff. And keep in mind, the mileage law only gets you in trouble if you're trying to fake the mileage, which we're absolutely not trying to do, nor are we trying to sell this. So, all right, guys, here is that screenshot that I promised you, or here's the information for you to screenshot that I promised you. Go ahead and take a look at that. That's everything that you can test and do, and hopefully you'll find that helpful. Otherwise, like I said, this is designed to be the definitive guide for this. So I put in everything in the video that I could think of, but I'm sure you guys know tons of stuff that I didn't include. Please comment down below if you know any tests or any more information, or if I got something wrong. Let's put it in the comments so that when people find this, it'll be really easy for them to diagnose their own JKs. And then if we get enough additional information, I'll make a second video. But I believe this is most of it, so I think we should be good. Thanks so much for watching to the end. We really appreciate it. Like and subscribe if you're interested. We've got a ton of videos on this Jeep. We've got a ZJ, we've got a WJ, we've got Project F250 over there that we are finally back on and should be running here in a couple of weeks, and all kinds of really cool stuff. Thanks so much, guys. We really appreciate the love and support. Peace. These grounds right down here, and it is way too dark for you to see. Let's set off these types of... Okay, that next... All right, and that next